at Large, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs podcast.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Zim at Large, Zimbabwe's premier podcast show, which gives you everything you need to know about what is happening in Zimbabwe and where we are headed to. My name is Mabasa Sasa, and with us in the studio today, we have the Honorable Minister of Industry and Commerce, Minister Mangaliso Ndhlovu. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us, and welcome to Zim at Large.
Thank you very much for having me, Sasa. It's such an honor to be at Zim at Large.
No, thank you very much, sir. And also joining us in the studio, we have political analyst and commentator, Mr. Dereck Goto. Mr. Goto, welcome to Zim at Large.
Thank you, Comrade Sasa. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for being with us today.
Right, so to get right into it, Honorable Minister, perhaps to start things off, perhaps maybe could you share with Zimbabweans and the world what is the mandate of the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, and how does this mandate dovetail with the broader Vision 2030, the National Development Strategy 1, and of course, since we are getting into National Development Strategy 2, what exactly is the Ministry of Industry and Commerce's mandate?
You know, Sasa, I always say to people, to me, this is the Ministry of Economy because of the central role that it plays in driving our economy forward. When you know, just to digress a bit, when you look at our history, the colonial regime was able to sustain its suppressive regime because of a strong industrial base. So that's how important industry is in an economy. Unfortunately, in my view, we didn't realize early enough that when we attained independence, the colonial regime had set us for failure, and the successive IMF-led policies just accelerated it. And I'm happy to say that we have reset our manufacturing base. And as I look at the mandate that His Excellency Dr. Mnangagwa gives us as a ministry, it's really to see the central role that the manufacturing sector primarily plays in making sure that our primary production derives greater value for our economy, be it from the mineral side or from the agricultural side. And as we'll be discussing, you will see some of the strides that we have made. Now, when you look at your NDS1, these are building blocks, all aiming at attaining the president's vision that he gave the country. And I always say that there have been only two visions that this country has had in its life. The first one was when Ian Smith says, not in 1,000 years will we be free. It didn't take 15 years. The second one is when the president came and said, I envision this country being an upper middle income society by 2030. And you can see the difference between the two visions. And he has made sure that he leads from the front in taking this country towards upper middle income society. So you would look at the genesis from the TSP that came in really to just stabilize things. And then NDS1 came, a very robust national development plan, which in my view has delivered impressive results. And we look forward to NDS2. In fact, this coming Monday, we will be, as a committee of ministers, be reviewing NDS2, which will be launched by the president very soon. So industry plays a central role. You will see a pillar there which specifically says, under NDS1, which says moving the economy up the value chain. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't look at a specific value chain, but to say, as an economy, how do we move up the value chain? And NDS2 will really be consolidating the gains that have been laid by NDS1. But that's just the industry or manufacturing side. You would find that we don't often talk about the commercial or the commerce side enough. Yet it is very critical. In fact, commerce contributes close to 60% of our GDP because it consists of a number of subsectors banking and insurance falls under commerce. Your transport and logistics fall under commerce. But then there are other housekeeping issues that fall under commerce. Your standards, how do we make sure that we guarantee quality products to our people? So when you look at the two, the manufacturing side and the commerce side, you can appreciate the important role that is assigned to this ministry.
No, you raised quite a lot of very interesting issues, and I think you've really laid the foundation for a lot of things that Zimbabweans would like to know about. Definitely the issue of standards and quality is one of them. But before we get there, you mentioned the issue of raw materials and value addition. And I know these are critical aspects of the national development strategies. What exactly is the ministry doing to support local industries to add value? What are we doing to ensure that we move away from simply exporting raw materials and semi-finished goods? Does the ministry have any role in this? And if so, what is it?
Thank you very much. As a country, we took too long, in my view, really to have laser focus on these key aspects. Zimbabwe has the largest minerals per capita in the world. When you look at our mineral endowment compared to the population we have the largest. In my view, this should be really the catalyst for any economic growth. But when we are exporting this raw, we are simply helping other economies develop on the basis or on the back of our endowments. And it is unfortunate that this was allowed to happen for quite some time. Again, the Second Republic has been resolute. And I must say, for avoidance of doubt, I think God has been with us all the way. The Second Republic has been blessed beyond measure. When you look at it, we were not talking about lithium when the Second Republic came in, but look at how it has anchored the mineral space. And in a very short space of time, less than 7 years, we have been able to come up with a policy through the Minister of Mines that compels the lithium industry to make sure that they invest in value addition, and we give them timelines. We work with them. These are very expensive pieces of equipment and technology costing not less than $400 million US. And we have two companies that are already investing and advanced in this, Arcadia, which is Prospect Lithium, and I always say Bindura. What's this one in Mashingo? Bikita Minerals, yes. So, and then you'll have all lithium mining companies sending their lithium ores for processing there. And this is how resolute we are to say, come January 2027, you cannot export lithium ore. Same with platinum. It has taken time.
We are on track to meet that January 2027 target.
In fact, Arcadia, we had a presentation just yesterday from the Minister of Mines. They will start in the next 3 months, but they will be increasing their capacity as we go. That's how far we have been moving with this. Again, within the agro space, you know, I've said this before. Until early this year, this country has been importing pasta.
Okay.
Well, we still do, but now to a limited extent. Pasta is wheat flour and water. Wheat flour and water from Egypt. That's where we have been importing
from a desert country.
Yeah. But then you have got a president who says, I want to push food security first. We cannot talk of development when people are hungry. And this leads to record wheat production. The second country in Africa after Ethiopia to reach a wheat surplus. Then it begins to dawn on our industry that, hang on, we have surplus.
What do we do?
Why are we importing? So you have your national foods first company to put up a pasta making plant. As we speak, we have 2 more that are doing that. And I think by year end, or maybe by end of first quarter 2026, we should be self-sufficient in our pasta consumption because of these new investments that have come through. But again, you have many companies that have invested in agro-processing because of the strides that we have made in agriculture. In fact, when you look at it, the manufacturing sector, the value addition side, ordinarily will have a lagging effect. You will need your primary producers to up their game for value addition to fall. And this is what we are seeing happening from the agro-processing side, including the mineral value addition side. In the next 2 to 3 years, I see the manufacturing sector reoccupying the spot it used to occupy. Yes, we are still on top in terms of a sector contributor to GDP, but we are still just above 15%. First decade of independence, we were around 22%. And it was because of the colonial legacy. But now I'm happy to say this is Zimbabweans building their economy, and we are firmly in control.
And that has serious implications on job creation.
Definitely. In fact, we have seen very good jobs coming through the manufacturing sector and the commerce sectors. And as we intensify the value addition investments that we are seeing here, we are talking of quality jobs here. People will have to be well trained to do what they do. And this is what we want to be addressing going forward.
Now, I know Dereck is itching to say something, but if you allow me to just ask one more before you come in, sir.
Okay.
You bring in the issue of import substitution. How far are we going with that? I know at some point we were reading stories about the capacity we have reached for products like cooking oil, in terms of locally produced cooking oil occupying a lot of shelf space in our supermarkets. Which are the products, success stories can we speak of?
So let me give you a short story. This is my second stint at the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. I was there when I was fairly young. I was not very young.
You're still quite young.
I reminded the president. So he has a picture in his office that he took in 1980. And that's when he became a minister, and he was 38 years old. So I was joking with him the other day. I said, but you know, President, I also became minister at 38. Yeah, so I was there for about 15 months. In my second stint, it's now 18 to 19 months now. When I came in March last year, and I was doing my consultations with broader stakeholders, and the guys in the manufacturing sector and the BMOs, what came out clearly was that there were a lot of housekeeping issues that needed to be tied up. And when I got there, the ministry had developed, my predecessor had developed a policy, industrial policy, that I was then asked to launch. I said, okay, hang on, let me consult. And in the process of doing my consultations, it was clear that if we go ahead and launch this policy, it will be a policy that will have subdued growth.
Okay.
Because there are many issues that needed to be addressed. And my view was that we needed the manufacturing sector to really be a strong contributor to Vision 2030. And instead of launching it, we parked it. I said, you know what, let us thoroughly interrogate the state of the economy, and let's look at all these issues that need to be addressed. So I had to take this long route because we will be talking a lot about what we identified there and what has happened since then. So long story short, we then came up with what we called the Zimbabwe Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan.
Yes.
We said, let us reconstruct this landscape, industrial and commerce landscape, the commercial side should be a catalyst for industry to grow. And we looked at this, we presented a very comprehensive paper in cabinet, and we discussed it for no less than 3 hours, because it spoke to what people were observing. And what you see happening today, most of which we'll be discussing, really emanates from that document. The State of Industry report gave birth to the Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan. In that, we identified top products that we are importing. Among them was iron and steel. Among them was your cement, your pharmaceuticals, your motor vehicles. I can tell you all those as we speak. We have made we launched it in October last year, the plan, and it was a 15-month plan. We were clear that it is meant to lay a foundation for the policy to come, but a policy that comes now, which is as ambitious as the targets that the president has given us, because we have to align with the thinking of the head of state. And I'm happy to say that Dinson has come, has made wonders. Our iron and steel, we are going to have a trade surplus. We have been importing not less than $1 billion worth of iron and steel products annually. This is the first year we are going to have a surplus, because we are not importing as much. There are just small issues that we are importing, but we are exporting more.
All right.
So this is the first year of this. Cement, if I can tell you, we have been bringing a lot of cement from Zambia.
Yes.
The first thing I did again to address that was to invite one of the companies, Chinese guys in Zambia. Why would you want us to be buying from outside? Come.
When you can set up here.
By December, they had put up a plant somewhere close to Zimbabwe, TZ.
Yes.
The plant is already running. But beyond that, we have 2 big plants that are coming up, one in Magunje, one in Chekutu. You might have heard one in Chekutu and Brighton School.
Yes. Brighton School.
Yeah. I'm sure they are finding each other, because we certainly want that plant up. We have 2 cement companies that have started production this year in Hwange area. So next year we are going to have surplus cement. That is because we took direct interventions to address the problems we're facing. Pharmaceuticals. At one time, first 2 decades of our independence, when CAPS was doing well, we were producing 90% of our drugs, importing 10. At one time, we were producing 8%, importing 92. That's how bad things fell.
That's
of course,
the average across Africa.
Yeah. So we have turned the tide to a large extent thanks to COVID. Yeah. COVID taught us that you have to look inwards. And we've seen huge investments in the pharmaceuticals industry. And I'm happy that it is now diversified. It's no longer one big company that we rely on, because if it sneezes, then the whole country catches a cold. Now, we have even successfully lobbied NatFarm to prioritize local procurement. And we believe that these are baby steps. With pharmaceuticals, it takes time really to have more and more drug lines being procured locally. I'm happy to say that they are actually now exporting. Our own companies are exporting drugs into the region. So NatFarm did not have a problem really bringing them on board. It's work in progress. So there are so many areas that we looked at this and we said, but hang on, why are we importing these things? So our next focus, as we look at what we call the local content policy, is to say where we have been doing very well, for instance, in the mining sector. Let's analyze your consumables, because you'll get a company that is producing so much, but everything they use, including work suits, are imported. And we are setting up a committee with the Minister of Mines, where we'll be looking at the big guys, but we're going downstream, including your explosives. Whatever you use in the mine, what is it that you think we cannot produce? Because what we can produce, certainly you don't have to import. But my focus will be in those that you think we cannot produce. Then I'll bring my team to say, higher and tertiary, I want these things done. Then that's how you will grow a local, homegrown industry that we are firmly in control of.
Thank you for that overview, Honorable Minister. Please allow me to take you back a bit to when you spoke about your mandate. Perhaps our viewers would want to know how your ministry coordinates with other government ministries like finance, agriculture, transport, logistics, to achieve your industrialization goals.
Thank you very much. So, the president always guides us to say, first, we have what we call collective responsibility. That's why it will be very odd to hear a minister look down on another ministry or department, because I am equally responsible for their performance. When we meet every Tuesday in cabinet, we discuss national issues. When I present a paper, everyone who has a contribution to make, they make it. And the president is gracious like that. He will give everyone an opportunity. So that what you hear as post-cabinet, it's no longer my thinking. It is the thinking of government. So in that regard, everyone is on board. So that is the starting point. But secondly, we are organized in cabinet committees. So before we take especially major policy documents, you sit in a cabinet committee of ministers. It starts with the working party of senior officials, the technical teams from different ministries, economic cluster and the social services cluster. So in the economic cluster, you will have your mines, your agriculture, your transport. Those they would have made their input, but then the ministers will have another opportunity there. So this is the structure of government, really not necessarily our own structure. But we go beyond that, as we were discussing import substitution strategies. With agriculture, we have set up committees that are chaired by our deputy ministers. So Deputy Minister Harry Tatos, Deputy Minister Raj Modi, and Deputy Minister Kudakwashe David Mnangagwa. So we have finance, we have agriculture, we have industry. And we assign them to interrogate different agro-value chains, look at where the bottlenecks are, where policy shortcomings are, what the private sector, because they invite them, what are their views around this? Then they report to us. We are setting up something similar with the Minister of Mines. Our focus there will be on local procurement and to see how we can accelerate this. So again, as and when we feel there is need to bring colleague ministries, departments, or agencies, I've had fun working in this government because of how we have been able to collaborate on national strategic issues.
Excellent.
I'm glad that you raised this issue of this whole of government approach, this collective responsibility. Industry usually raises the issue of access to affordable financing. This, whether it be for retooling, day-to-day operations. What role is the Ministry of Industry and Commerce playing, perhaps in facilitating access to affordable lines of credit, both for big companies and more particularly for your smaller companies that are coming up, not necessarily your SMEs, but we have medium-sized companies that have their own innovations. They're employing 20, 50 people, and they need these lines of credit, whether it is to promote the import substitution, whether it is to add to value addition. Does the Ministry of Industry and Commerce play any role? Is there any interaction with other ministries in this regard? This is both for local and regional international financing.
Thank you very much. If there's one area that I think will preoccupy my office the most, it is the issue of financing. Largely because, one, I think our financial services sector in the main has not been forthcoming in this regard. But secondly, the structure of our economy. I have so much respect for Zimbabwean entrepreneurs because most of them have gone into business sacrificing their savings. And you don't get this in most economies. And it's not just business. At household level, somebody who is driving a car, they have used their savings. Somebody who owns a house, no matter how small or big, they've used their savings. So I had an opportunity a few weeks back to travel to Germany with a number of banking institutions and led by the Deputy Governor, Dr. Chipik of Central Bank. And I had an opportunity to discuss with them to say, but where is the banking sector in all of this? Why are we not supporting the productive sector? Yes, they do. Let me be fair. In agriculture, they do. But I still think there's a lot more that can be done. And it was an interesting conversation. We agreed that we'll take it home. So we have scheduled meetings just to see how we can tailor-make financing that could accelerate access to affordable financing. That said, I'm happy to say that the Minister of Finance shares my concern. And when I discussed with him last year, it was one of the easiest conversations. It's not easy to get your way with the Prof. Mthuli, and I hope he won't put me to trouble with that.
We'll remind him when he comes on the show.
He was very supportive, to be fair, and he did set aside 100 million ZIG to say, Minister, I want us to pilot this. And he committed that in every budget he will be allocating this to a revolving fund. But because it was its first time, and there were certain changes that took place in the ministry. We have always had the Industrial Development Corporation that ordinarily would have been given this funding, but it then went to Mtapa. Now, Treasury could not then put money under Mtapa. We had to come up with a vehicle that would help us. So those who have been following ZCon a few weeks ago, we had to sign that agreement with the Minister of Finance, where we are assigning the Venture Capital Fund to be the one that will manage this fund. So for all intents and purposes, the administrative work will be done, but I think the access to this fund we'll be very lucky if this quarter something happens, but I'm looking forward to next year because we also don't want to rush it. We want to give deserving institutions that potentially will have high impact to our economy. And as the fund grows, it would really be able to bridge this gap temporarily because I think we still need the financial services sector to come in big time.
Honorable Minister, Zimbabwe has several once-thriving companies that have either shut down or are operating below capacity. What is your ministry doing to resuscitate these ailing firms? And are there success stories that you can actually point to? Then how is the government balancing between uplifting those legacy companies that are struggling with encouraging new players to play a role in the economy?
I like to tell stories. So there is a brother of mine called Professor Dr. Amon Murira. I don't know if you know him.
Yes, we've heard of him.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. So he says, let sleeping dogs lie. And I happily disagree with him on this one. He says, Minister, you can't go to the graveyard and start trying to resuscitate. You see, the background, to my understanding, really is that the people who wanted to destroy this economy through sanctions knew the nerve center. And they were very accurate, direct in targeting those. So if you collapse Zisco Steel, you have hit NRZ, you have hit Wange Colliery, you have hit ZESA. So they were able to go up. So when you look at all the institutions that the sanctions targeted, they were meant to paralyze the economy. And that accelerated the deindustrialization of Bulawayo. Because Bulawayo, again, heavily depended on Zisco Steel, on NRZ. At one time, NRZ in Bulawayo employed not less than 20,000 people. When there was a payday at NRZ, the economy of Bulawayo felt it. And so you can begin to appreciate why Bulawayo has had such challenge coming back, because as we speak today, NRZ is still trying to come back. It's still work in progress. We saw the president leading from the front where he was negotiating some of the agreements that will see NRZ come back. That said, we then know that we cannot afford to ignore these institutions because of the role they played. Yes, we have seen Manize come in. They have closed a big void in the iron and steel industry, because iron and steel is very important. There is a former CEO of Zisco Steel. He was there in the late 80s, early 90s. That time, he says, you could easily measure the level of economic growth or the level of economic activity by measuring the consumption of iron and steel per capita. And he says Zimbabwe was using around 45 tons per person per year. That was on average. Yet all other African countries were at between 4 and 5. That's how far ahead of the rest of the countries we were back then. And I'm seeing this coming back because Zisco Steel has begun now. We took a step-by-step approach, one furnace after the other. We have one furnace fully functional now, another is coming back. You look at your David Whitehead, which was a giant. I think the David Whitehead that is coming now will be bigger than the David Whitehead we knew. We have guys who have come in and invested in modern technology. In fact, as we speak, I think police, the military, they are all now getting their regalia locally. And we're working on a few policy issues. For instance, there is a lot of smuggling of textile products and linen itself, fabric, and we're trying to see how we can close those loopholes. And I think by the first quarter, we'll have officially opened, depending on the president's availability of David Whitehead. But it is going to change the clothing and textile landscape. They are not the only ones. Paramount Garments are doing well. There are quite a number of them. And I have just assigned that committee of deputy ministers to look at certain issues that have been neglected in the cotton to clothing value chain, so that we get it right at the primary production stage, we get our farmers happy, we incentivize them to go for top quality, because that has been lost now. We no longer grade the cotton when we are buying from the farmers. So COTCO has to go back to that. And then we are able to produce quality cotton that can then help us to produce quality fabric. So a number of them are coming back. But as you know, government in the main plays a facilitatory role. So it is up to investors to see opportunities and tap into those. Except Zisco Steel, which is government owned, we try to really push them. We hope that Lancashire Steel, early next year, they will be back in production because Manize were finishing their wire rod setting up so that the rods can then be sold to Lancashire Steel to then do the wire. So those are the few products that we are still importing in the iron and steel that I hope that by next year we will no longer be importing.
Wow, excellent.
I know for a lot of Zimbabweans, the issue of clothing and textiles is quite topical. Mabero.
Are they banned? Are they not banned?
Are they banned? Are they not banned? And more broadly, maybe at the structural level, where exactly are we missing it when it comes to the pricing of our products in that value chain? Clothing imports are extremely cheap. And it's very difficult to tell people, don't buy my beer. We want to promote local. How do we balance these things out? How do we grow our local industry? How do we convince people to go for Zimbabwean quality rather than Mabero?
Yeah, I worked very hard on this thing with my colleague ministers, Kazembe, Home Affairs, and Daniel Garwe, local government. When you heard the minister announcing, Garwe, that they are banned, it was part of the work we were doing. We are still not yet done. And I was saying to him, maybe we announced it a bit too early. So, for the past, I think, 8 years plus, Mabero ese amrukuona, they are smuggled. Mabero ese amrukuona. Because we did not ban them technically in terms of legally. All we did was that we simply remove them from the open import general license, so that for you to bring them, you need an import license. And we issue the licenses. We have only issued to charitable organizations, and we have not issued in 8 years more than 5 times.
We don't have people who have come with certificates claiming to be PVOs, and they are bringing in gonyets of Mabero.
So again, like I'm saying, we have not issued in 8 years more than 5 times. And you can imagine the trucks and trucks that come. In fact, some smuggling syndicates are known in Mutare. They are known coming from Mozambique. That was why we brought in police, and I hope they are working on it. Now, it takes time to change mindsets. When people in their minds believe that things are expensive, I grew up believing that those who buy from Edgar's but we have engaged Edgar's. They have got their textile company. It's called Carousel or something, I think, in Bulawayo. They've got products that compete with most of these imported garments. Most of them are imported second-hand, yet theirs are brand new. And they are working with small to medium-sized companies to be able to sell through them. And they've been making inroads. But there is this unfair competition. They have to contend with the local authority rates, pay taxes, pay everything. They are competing with some clothes that have been worn, gone beyond economic value, and they are just recycled. So we have to protect them. And just as well, the level where I think the president has taken us, surely we cannot be taking pride in wearing clothes that were worn by some people. I'm hoping that as people look closely, they'll realize that there are brand new clothes that are affordable. I don't take for granted the importance of someone's buying power. Because they will look at it and say, can I afford this? At the end of the day, clothing is a basic need. But I think our responsibility then is to work with the industry to make sure that continuously we address these issues. They are able to produce at competitive prices. We've seen companies ban. This year alone, I know a number of African companies that have banned these second-hand clothing. And that is the route we are taking, but we have to do it in a measured way. We should be happy and satisfied that we have right alternatives. Yes, and we are there, actually.
Okay. Honorable Minister, there are still concerns from some sectors about red tape and high compliance costs. What reforms has the ministry implemented or is planning to make it more conducive for both local and foreign businesses to operate in Zimbabwe?
Thank you, Goto. That's a very important question. So, I spoke about the Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan that was launched last year, October. That plan identifies this as another key area that needs to be addressed if we are to have high growth rates in the manufacturing sector. And I can tell you that what has happened since then and today had not happened in our 44 years of independence. To get the head of state to officially open a competitiveness summit in Bulawayo, the first of its kind, which summit is just there to discuss issues of regulatory burden on business. And the judge is there to say, my government will create a conducive environment for business to thrive. He opens Cabinet 2025, again says the same thing, that I direct. You know, these are very strong words.
Yeah.
And when they are coming from the head of state, you know that
you
marching orders have been given. And I can tell you that, so what we did ourselves, and I always tell my team that there are things that you will achieve through others. What we want to do is to achieve this. So we identify, I'll bring copies. I don't know if Tawaka brought the copies of that plan. That document, I want it to remain in people's shelves, even way past its life, because it will remind people that it's possible to address things that you never thought they can be addressed. So we identify that at some point, the Office of the President and Cabinet was very instrumental in addressing issues of ease of doing business. But that was because the World Bank had a program where every year they were publishing ranking countries on ease of doing business index. I know there are countries that then complained and World Bank thought maybe they had entered a political space. They discontinued this around 2021 and we stopped. So our prayer was that OPC should revive that process, working with the Ministry of Finance, because the Ministry of Finance is overarching. It touches all of us go there for finance. So certainly they can set the conditions of giving you finance. And I'm happy that Cabinet then approved. So the approval of the Reconstruction and Growth Plan meant Cabinet approved that OPC and Treasury should look into it. And they've done an exceptional job. You have been seeing finance announcing the genesis of that comes from that document. So we have been able to, we are not done. Agriculture, have only done half of it. The crop side is coming. Energy sector, it's not done. Many sectors are still coming before year end.
Sorry, perhaps while you're still there, for the sake of our viewers, maybe just to explain the process for those announcements. We know, okay, they were made by the Minister of Finance, but as a minister of the government, perhaps maybe just to explain how those announcements, those intentions actually then become statutory, become law.
Oh, yes. So the Attorney General, as we speak, is working on this because we realize there could be multiple pieces of legislation or SIs that might come. We then agreed that she and her office will have to consolidate these. There might not be just one because some might need to be gazetted now before year end. Some might come as we go. So there will be gazetted piece of legislation consolidating all these changes, because some of them will be amending the Urban Councils Act, Rural District Councils Act. Generally, and by practice, it is the Finance Act that amends other acts. But through the Attorney General's advice, they can come up with a piece of legislation that has an effect of amending other pieces. So they are working on this. Yeah.
No, thank you for that. Perhaps maybe to get back on track, you mentioned earlier the issue of quality products. There are a lot of complaints about influx of substandard imports, substandard locally manufactured goods, counterfeit goods. The Minister of Industry and Commerce, you have the Standards Authority of Zimbabwe. I don't know if trade measures also comes into that, but really what is being done to ensure that people get what they have paid for?
So you've just reminded me that I didn't do justice to the very first question.
Yes.
Because my mandate really is overarching. I have a responsibility of promoting the growth of industries, but also I have a responsibility of making sure that consumers are protected. Consumers are protected by ensuring that the private sector engages in fair business practices. It could be issues of monopolies, price collusion. I become a regulator to say, yes, I want you to grow, but grow fairly. It could be issues of people telling you that, well, I'm not talking about Zimbabwe Light. I'm just saying that they'll say it's 500 mils, yet it's 400. So we have to say through our trade measures, do sampling. Is it 10 kgs of millimil? If not, then we have to take those companies to task. We have to make sure that we promote good quality products. The promotion of good quality products really works to our favor as an economy, but also it works for the respective company, because when people perceive your products to be of high quality already in the market, you have a competitive advantage. So we have different pieces of legislation that we use on a regulatory aspect, on especially protecting the consumer. In my first stint, 2018 to 2019, we passed the first ever piece of legislation on consumer protection, which is the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. And this gave a legal grounding on the issues of protecting consumers. And since then, we have formed the Consumer Protection Commission, whom I believe they can do better. I was telling them that there are certain companies or sectors that I should be hearing them complain, but they are not complaining. Because I hear consumers complain.
Yes.
Then you are the watchdog who should be at the forefront of taking these complaints to the people who are bringing these. So maybe for purposes of not going after them, but the telecommunications subsector needs a lot of attention from a consumer perspective. I have asked them to look into it among them. We will be having our first Standards Act. I seem to be very common with these new acts.
Yeah.
Because all along we have had SARS, Standards Association of Zimbabwe. People don't even know that it is a private institution. It was formed by private individuals and companies. But we are institutionalizing it. Already have agreed that it will be a public institution, but now it will have legal grounding, legal backing. And through it, we will be able to bring in compulsory standards, because as of now, standards are voluntary.
Oh, okay.
And there are certain standards, especially to do with what human beings consume. You have to conform to certain compulsory standards. So that's the work that we'll be doing, starting. In fact, a lot of work has been done. We should be having it gazetted next year, and then it goes through all the parliamentary proceedings. So there's a lot of work. Smuggling. This is my belief, that we need to address the root cause. Something will tell you that if you go and buy washing powder in South Africa, transport it, avoid the border, you can sell it at a profit in Zimbabwe.
It's strange.
You can deploy millions of dollars putting up roadblocks, buying, what are these things? Drones to simply make sure your products are cheaper. You have removed any incentive to go out. So that is what this government is doing, to say we will, on our part, address our contribution to our lack of competitiveness. Through our company called NCC, National Competitiveness Commission, we do comprehensive studies. These are available, publicly available in their website, on most of these areas to assess our competitiveness. And we identify our cost drivers and we make recommendations on what needs to be done. We even do what we call regulatory impact assessment. For any regulation that you pass, what is its impact on competitiveness? And we have not been using this tool as regulators, as policymakers. And that's why it has taken the president to direct that this be looked at such a global level. But going forward, every minister, before they put in a statutory instrument that imposes a levy, it has to undergo a regulatory impact assessment, and it should pass that its impact has no detrimental effect on the economy before it is passed. So that's what we will be doing going forward.
Honorable Minister, what is being done to promote import substitution, particularly in areas where Zimbabweans can competitively produce locally? Are there any shining examples of where that has been a success so far?
Like I said, we have always known that we import wheat, but it's a different story now. We are working very closely with our oil expressors because we still import a great deal of crude oil. We import a great deal of your soya beans. And we think that through our growing of soya, cotton and sunflower, we should be self-sufficient. And the Minister of Agriculture is on top of the situation. So we've done very well on import substitution. This, of course, it doesn't mean we have arrived. We still have a problem. You know, some things you would wonder. 2018, we had a trade deficit. I might not get my numbers correct, but I think our exports were around $4 billion US. Our imports were just over 5 billion. So we had a trade deficit of over $1 billion. So, you know, this economy has grown rapidly. People don't realize that in 2018, our GDP was around 19 billion. We are sitting on close to 50 billion, more than double. More than double.
In less than 10 years.
And this explains the general living standards of our people. I think the challenge that is left really is to say, how does this trickle to everyone? As the president says, I'm leaving no one and no place behind. Just to say, how does it reach this success? How does it reach everyone? That's why we are coming strong on economic empowerment. I haven't even spoken about economic empowerment. I hope we get to discuss what we are doing on that front.
In fact, yeah, maybe just fill us in on that.
Right. So we have two key levers that we are using to economically empower our people. The first one is under what we call reserved sectors, where we look at sectors that have relatively low entry barriers. I mean, a barber shop. You can imagine someone flying all the way from Belgium to open up a what skill do you have in your fingers? So we have identified sectors that we strongly believe our own people, we have capabilities to actively engage in business, and we don't want them subjected to unfair competition, because we know where we are coming from. We have been beating sanctions, but they are still there. And you have people with cheaper sources of financing coming to collapse our industries. I mean, you look at your haulage industry. People have parked their trucks because those who have come in are charging suboptimal rates. At times, they would want to charge rates that are lower than the cost of fuel. Then you know that their target is not, that to them is not a business. They want to kill a business that is there. So we have gotten that approved by cabinet. We are putting our systems in place. We will be giving those who are in those sectors 3 years to divest. And it's structured. We are not about grabbing people's properties. We respect their investments. So we have given them leeway to engage in partnerships that will see Zimbabweans playing a role in a number of these. Your quarry mining. I mean, you can't blast a rock and you say you've invested. You blast it, then you measure it's 30 tons. And you say it's an investment. That's where now we want you to come and say you are constructing a 16-story building and you need 10,000 tons of quarry stone, 3/4 stone. Then we say, we can supply that. Our Zimbabweans come in and you help the economy grow than for you to come and you siphon and you go. It is the responsibility of government to make sure that as we get these investments, our people benefit out of them. So that is the first lever. The second one really relates more to the mining industry, the extractives. You know, in the Constitution says government should make sure that communities benefit from natural resources within themselves. So we have not really come up with strong policies on this. We sought to strengthen the community trust, and we are transforming them from being equity focused, from being community share ownership trust. We are now calling them community economic empowerment trust. And our focus is to say there has to be certain revenues accruing to those communities. But those communities have a responsibility of making sure that they grow economies around them. If you have got mining companies in your area contributing to this trust, it is the responsibility of this trust to invest in manufacturing for that mine the consumables. Let that mine buy safety shoes from that company. Let them buy their PPEs. Even if they want to buy food, set up agriculture value chains within the area. That's how you can cascade economic benefits to the generality of our people, because this economy is growing. The president is looking at the target. His foot soldiers, we have to make sure that we help him bring everyone on board.
Oh, excellent. Sounds like you're talking of something like there's this entity in Spain, is it Mondragon? A very interesting community set up. A commercial vehicle owned by the community. I think at one point it was among the 10 biggest companies in Spain, and this is community owned really. But thank you for that. From reserved sectors for locals to special economic zones. We have read a lot about those. I think for years Zimbabweans have been told special economic zone, it's coming, this one will be doing this one will be doing that. Are any of them operational? Who operates in them? What value do they bring to your ordinary Zimbabwean, to the national economy?
So the special economic zones are under the administration of ZIDA, Zimbabwe Investment and Development Agency. We introduced this as a government really to try and attract investment primarily into these sectors ordinarily where, investors will be having many options. And you want them to look at our country as a better investment destination. And because really what is about a special economic zone is that they get to be exempted from paying taxes for a certain period of time. So again, you have to balance to say, if you had to bring an investment and you give them a special economic zone, is it giving you the intended benefit? So it is generally very delicate. But I'm happy to say that companies that have been granted special economic zone status, a number of them have done very well in terms of employment creation, and some of them have gone beyond the grace period. They are now paying taxes, contributing to the fiscus. So there are still a number of areas to be cleaned up, I must say. For instance, I know that a few years ago we had designated certain areas in Bulawayo, geographical designation to say if you are in Kelvin, Belmont, these are industrial areas. These are special economic zones. But companies that have gone there have not really been able to benefit from this. So we are engaging Zita on that effect. There is also this policy that you can only benefit from special economic zone if you are exporting a certain level of products. And my view, and I'm discussing this with my colleagues, is that it needs to be balanced.
Okay.
If somebody is going to import substitute 600 million worth of dollars that we could have spent importing, surely they deserve consideration. So these are areas of discussion. But we continue to identify these fragile subsectors where we want to attract investment, and through the Ministry of Finance, considerations are made to be given special economic zone.
Honorable Minister, how is your ministry facilitating local industries to grow, expand their operations into the regional space?
So this can take the whole day. I'll mention a few areas because, again, I view this as almost the core of our mandate. So first, in 2019, when we launched the Industrial Development Policy that then lapsed in 2023, we had also launched what we called the Local Content Strategy. Local Content Strategy's primary focus was to incentivize companies producing in Zimbabwe to use local raw materials. So what it does is we look at this couch and we say, okay, how much of this is procured local, is Zimbabwean? So there was a bit of slowdown in that area. We have only just revived the whole approach. And we set thresholds, sector specific. In the furniture industry, if we say it is not difficult to reach 80% local content, we then say those who reach 90% local content get these incentives. Those who are 100% local content get higher incentives. So I set up the local content committee last year in November, December. And they had to start from scratch, setting up the framework, developing a digital platform where companies that are doing manufacturing can upload their processes, can upload how they are procuring, where they are procuring, so that those who audit this process can follow through to say, you are saying this is Zimbabwean because you bought it from Ndhlovu. But where did Ndhlovu get it? So if it is imported, then we go back to say, this is not Zimbabwean. This helps us to grow internally, organic, domestic growth. So that is the first part that I think it's very important. Secondly, through our Competition and Tariff Commission, CTC, we are very firm and strong in promoting competition. Now, there is a big debate there, and I'll bring you in on some of the issues to say, in such an environment, what do you call competition? What do you call a monopoly? And I've challenged my team to say, let's get academics to really zero in on this, because it's not an easy thing to do. For instance, we don't have, as it stands, a banking institution that can finance an infrastructure project worth $50 million and above based on its balance sheet. So when you have 2-3 banks coming together to merge, there is a temptation to look at them and say, oh, hang on, but you are creating a monopoly, you are going to... But are they competing with these small banks, or their target is... I mean,
bigger market.
if you remember, the resurfacing of Plumtree Harare Mutare Road was financed in the main by DBSA, Development Bank of South Africa, because they have the financial muscle to go outside the South African borders. We don't have that. Now, I tell you, the companies that have grown beyond this economy that started here, they carry in their backs the tag of monopoly. You're in scores. Go to Kenya, you'll get Pizza Inn.
Yeah, we were about to ask about that. Is that not a monopoly?
But do you think in schools you have gone to Kenya if they had focused in being small? So that's what I have said. Now, INSCO also complain that they think CSC is hard on them. I say to them, they have grown like this because they had to bear the brunt of competition. Without competition, if you are just protected, you won't go anywhere. Now, we believe strongly that we will promote the growth of these companies beyond our borders if they are subjected to fair competition. And if they do so, they can easily compete in the global scale. Econet, similarly, have gone out of our borders, but they carry this tag here that we are not too sure because of their dominance. But they had to outcompete even state institutions for them to get confidence and dream of going out there. So these are the companies that I look up to say, I want to see companies that will comply with our strict competition laws, outcompete your peers, buy a few out if you can, but get the strength to go out and compete.
And let sleeping dogs lie.
Okay, I think I know we've taken much of your time, Honourable Minister, so I'll just throw in two last questions.
Okay.
Are there current innovation hubs or technology incubators that are supported by your ministry? That's question number one. Then how are you linking research outputs from universities or research institutions like SEDIC to actual industrial application?
Right. So again, whole of government approach. You see what the president has been doing with our institutions of higher learning, where he has got both innovation hubs and industrial parks, where ideas are tested, and then small industrial scale, you see how it comes out. Where there has been a gap, and this is my assessment, has been the close linkages between industry and the academia. Because, the industry, people keep saying that the graduates coming there are not ready for industry. But academia say we are producing top-notch students. Industry come to the party. So we have now created a collaboration between our BMOs and institutions of higher learning to say, let there be matchmaking. You'll know that every year the president has a day where he interacts with students, where they showcase their breakthrough innovations. So we have now agreed that it will be partnership with industry, so that when the president does so, we are able also to then highlight to the president what ideas is industry keen to take on board. It's not an easy area, I must say, because, research and development linked to intellectual property, it's a tricky terrain. Industry would want to own their own innovations. Coca-Cola thrives on the fact that no one knows their formula. Now, you are a student, you have made this breakthrough innovation. How does it then get to be owned by a company? Because a company would not want this thing to be publicly available. These are the delicate details. I am reminded of a Vodacom story, I don't know if you have been following, where an employee developed the please call. And he feels he was not compensated. Now, you see, you have got somebody who has developed something, and you think, because I employ him, this is my invention. I think it was clever to patent it, I don't know. So once we are clear on the intellectual property laws, I think then we'll see industry taking keen interest. I see the hesitation emanating from there. They haven't said it, so but I know if I'm in business and I'm to use your invention, I need to know at what cost, what are the terms, and industry would rather have their own R&D that then comes up with breakthrough innovations that is less complicated. But we need to then leverage on what this government has done. It's remarkable. We don't see this anywhere in Africa. And we need to say, industry, let's clear all the areas you are not comfortable with, but take advantage of what has been done. That's what we'll be looking at.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Honourable Minister. This has been quite a very engaging and enlightening conversation. Perhaps maybe if you have a final word to the people of Zimbabwe, the pessimists, the optimists, the fence-sitters, the dreamers, the naysayers.
You know, I look at what this economy has achieved and I say Zimbabweans will look back years down the line and it might be too late to thank this president for what he has done. I've been privileged and honored to really work closely with him. He is a father to us, to me in particular. I don't go to him with any difficult question that he fails to guide on. And it's really been an honor. I really want to urge Zimbabweans to take an active role in building their country. This saying that ilizwe lakhiwa ngabanikazi balo, it's so profound that if we could carry it across generations, African countries will be following our footsteps 3-4 decades down the line. And we don't realize it now. It has been a painful path. It had to take that painful path because that's what pioneers go through. Others keep looking, okay, Zimbabwe have taken the land, these were the pain points. They have the luxury of doing that. But we were decisive in doing what we are doing. And look at what we are enjoying now. Record-breaking tobacco done by small-scale farmers. Record-breaking wheat. We thought we broke the record last year. It is broken this year. It's no longer fashionable to talk about these records. But my plea is to see Zimbabweans being a part of this success story. More so our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. I think that it's time now to engage in constructive dialogue. Where I come from in the southern region, there's a lot of negativity. And I always say, from a politician that I am, that I don't see them as wrong, but as requiring engagement. I need to understand where they are coming from, what are their misgivings, how do we find each other, how do we close the gap? Because ultimately they matter in the development of this country. We want to see them playing an active role here. And it will be very good that they come and experience the leadership of President Iti Mnangagwa before 2030. Let them come, yes, because he is there up to 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. It has been a pleasure having you here. Thank you very much, Mr. Goto.
Thank you.
Viewers, thank you for being with us for another exciting episode of Zim at Large.